All right, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I will ask Andrew for a roll call.
Treasurer Dios,
Here.
Gene Rondeau,
Here.
Mark Carullo,
Here.
Michael Cicero,
Here.
Joseph Codiga,
Here.
Matthew Howard,
Here.
Yen Lee,
Here.
William Murray,
Here.
Claire Newell,
Here.
Andrew Nava,
Here.
Alan Palazzo,
Here.
Sandra Paquette,
Here.
Dr. Shaw Hughes,
Here.
Michael Toohey,
Here.
Jonathan Woolman.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you, Andrew. I'll now seek the approval of the draft meeting minutes of January 14, 2026 of the retirement board meeting. So move. So move.
Second.
Second. Any comments or edits? Seeing none. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
So move. We'll move on to the executive director's report. Andrew.
Great, thank you. My report today is just a little bit longer than usual, but we have a short agenda. I look forward to your feedback on if you want more or less, but I want to make sure you are all apprised of the important goings on here. First off is under the heading of board schedule and training. We intend to not have a full day retreat in May and rather have a regular meeting in regular open session. In that meeting, as was planned, we would be looking at the every 3-year experience study. And kind of there's two parts to my rationale here. And the suggestion staff has made. First of all, this is an important document, and I think we should err on the side of doing that in a regular open meeting. We can also combine it with some training on actuarial concepts and the underlying data that is applied. So, two, it's also an extraordinarily busy time. So I think between the directors, the dads, the doctors, I'm not sure we have a full day to recommend that. Separately, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that study and what we'll be doing. Our governance was modified somewhat significantly when you did a review with this group called Funston. Kind of reorganized the committees. It looked through, how we report, how we have various process procedures, and that was a long time coming. I think Director Karpinski wanted to do that for over a decade, and it happened over a decade ago. One of their recommendations that was never kind of fully countenanced was that there should be more overlap in training between the State Investment Commission and the ERSRI board. So what I intend to do, and looking for input from each of you after this meeting, it's also, I believe, appropriate for the governance committee to give me formal feedback on what topics we'd be covering in training. But the treasurer would like us to at least look at whether we can have some overlap on fiduciary training and just some understanding of what the SIC does. And they have their board training in November, which could also potentially be a less busy time for some of us. That would not be a full day. And I also don't want to create the classic mistake of waiting until the end of the year and having a whole bunch of training to do. So my intention would be to on all the months when we don't have especially long meetings or hearings starting next month, to include a short amount of continuing education so that we can be fully in compliance with our continuing education bylaws. There would be materials online if anyone misses a meeting so they could watch it. But we're starting at 9:30 to hopefully alleviate traffic and staff concerns. We're still ending on time, and I assure you we'll be able to include small segments of training throughout the year, so we're neither backed up at the end of the year and we can keep these meetings reasonable, but at a pace where there's plenty of room for discussion. Very specifically, I want to just highlight what the next few would be. Justin Maestro, our Chief Investment Officer, would come in and review 2025 in our next meeting in March. And I think it would be appropriate to spend not just time on the results, but kind of run us through the SIC book, so we all have a shared understanding of what information is we're receiving every month. In April, Justin Miller would be, kind of time anyway to update our cybersecurity insurance policies. He's been going through the process of getting those quotes, reviewing. I can preview it that he's quite impressed by the decisions that were made prior to him being here. But we need to review that anyway, and so him giving some training on our cyber actions and the things you might need to know yourselves, I think would be appropriate. Then in May, we would be doing the experience study. One thing I wanted to mention about the experience study is, each year we have to produce evaluation that is required of us, not a choice. That one, sets important costs for the state 3 years out, so it's predictable. It's also used as information by a surprising number of agencies for forecasting, and then also for stating the state's financial position. So, it's those are important documents. And just so, I know Director Karpinski has probably told you this many times, but I just want to be very clear. This isn't a process where we're looking at like the entire health of the system or all of public policy. This, what we're going to do in May is to look very narrowly at the assumptions that are listed in the evaluation. So if you look at the last 20 years of evaluations, they're all posted online, and the assumptions are listed right in there online. I don't have to preview this with anyone. So the effort is to give a kind of clear empirical look at what the experience has been of those narrow assumptions. So I want to kind of make sure that everyone understands that that's an important thing. We have to revisit this every couple of years, that is mandated of us, but it's also not everything. And so that's going to be what we'll be doing in May. So that the actuaries could be here and present in person. We're doing third Wednesday rather than second Wednesday. It's May 20th. That's also inconvenient for you. I believe we had put that as team. A couple additional topics that aren't assigned to dates yet. I think we're required to have a report out on the defined contribution plan. I think we could do that with a little bit of background on how it works, how we work with DOA, and potentially even have a few minutes on the 457 plan, which we don't govern, but understanding the full pictures of what our members are experiencing retirement, I think is appropriate. And then, I believe when we do our kind of mandated update on disability numbers, I think I was here in the public to watch Amanda and Gail present on that. I think it might be good to have just a half hour of additional review of process, because I think the committee members understand the full extent of the work the staff does, and it's important to get, again, a new shared understanding on that. So that is my update on board schedule and training, and I'm happy to take feedback on that.
Point of order, something that came up as I was reviewing. I know schools put out their schedule for the next year, usually in November, actually before the school year starts. And considering, I believe many of the board members have children, I would suggest that we take a look at the current schedule to modify it, because I'm very familiar with Open Meetings Act laws and requirements, and I think, Pat, it's only a 48 hours notice, so we might want to review this so that those of you that are parents, we can adjust the schedules accordingly and accommodate, you can't go on vacation if you have a board meeting. So I think it's an easy fix. It's a no-brainer. The other issue I have is with regard to the SIC. I'm very much on top of the value of the system, and the SIC meetings are usually the week after our meeting, so maybe modify it the same week or the week before, so that we can have the latest information instead of being in a tail chase and, at our board meetings with the latest figures. So I'm just throwing that out there for consideration. I have no dog in this fight. My son is enjoying New Orleans now. So it's just something for your input.
I will. I take that, and just to answer thank you for that input. We'll say that we did, publish the full year calendar after extensive review and a lot of back and forth. Heidi corrected several mistakes I would have made if not for her due diligence. I think Veterans Day was a tough one this year. We can't do them on the same day, SIC, because I have to be at both. Treasurer have to be at both. So they can't be on the same day. But traditionally, we're the second Wednesday unless there's a reason not to be. That's kind of by rule. They're the fourth Wednesday unless they have a particular reason not to be. And we've already published our full year calendar, but we will give you an additional review to make sure that
It's only a 48-hour notice for meeting shifts and, you know, if you do something now, I'm not sure if there's an April vacation anymore, but if you do it a month ahead of time, there's no problem or would be in compliance with the law. I think Pat would agree. So.
Thank you. The second,
I'm sorry. No, you're not finished. I just wanted to comment positively on what you've said so far, because I think that since I started, it's an excellent way for us to get a complete view and not just look at it from one perspective, but to look at the whole thing from an entire perspective. And I'm sorry I interrupted.
oh, that was appropriate for the feedback. Thank you. The treasurer specifically told Justin and I to like get together and work on this. And Justin Maestro is a tremendous partner. I know most of you have met him, but he'll be here next month. And the next agenda item, or not agenda item, the next bullet point in my agenda is operations and systems update. One person who's not in the room today, but I just want to mention, so the retirement system's a relatively small entity, and we share staff and space with the treasurer's office, which is a separate entity. Tiffany Cashel is the chief operating officer, and so she is, fractionally also our chief operating officer. She is a tremendous operational partner and is always pushing with me. One of my initiatives has been to spend significantly more time working with her on process, and I'm a great deal from her. Not solely due to recent events such as at Brown, but realistically, for serious reasons. She has started a top to bottom review of our security processes, of our overall operations, our kind of just what we need to do to make sure that our staff feels supported, safe, welcome. Then kind of building on that, she has an initiative to be working on all of our critical functions, which many of which were last updated for COVID. And yeah, we all can agree we don't want disasters, but we need to be ready for them. So I'm working with that. I want you to know that. As part of that, Justin Miller is also reviewing, as we had him introduced here, a full review of all our cyber policies. And one issue is that your data, your cyber data, is only as safe as your physical data. And so part of this is going to be a review of badging, what badges work, and I just want to kind of give a note here. This might be too much. Several people have had badge questions lately, like town manager nodded, like had a bad issue, like. So I just want to say, this is not about you. This is not
all about
a reaction. The doctor had a badge question just yesterday.
Locked me out.
So everyone's badge hopefully worked today. We're reviewing all badge processes, and I just want to give a big reminder that I believe that the goal of the badges, which, like, for instance, the SIC has no badge, is exclusively so that we can keep public parking available, that the operations go on during the meetings. We currently have all our meetings here. We'd like to keep access to this room, but we'll be making some slight tweaks to all those processes to make sure it's appropriate. That's being led by our COO, and I'll report out on it as it kind of comes to fruition. So I thought it was very important for that not to sound punitive to anyone who had a badge issue. Finally, under system, that's operations and systems. The one thing I want to just update you on. So the primary piece of software that the retirement system runs on is called TELUS Health Systems. It's had across many years different iterations, different nicknames. It's a company that has changed names through acquisition several times. But over a 4-year period, there's been an ongoing effort to upgrade that software. That software that just, again, holds all the documents, all the data, all the calculations. They subcontract to a different payroll company, and called Dayforce. This is entirely different than the state's payroll system. This is exclusively the retirement system software. So I just want to say that kind of no confusion here. It's two different projects. We have been working on for now, I believe, 4 years, some great improvements that would unify the payroll and the data underlying it, and it would also give some greater functionality to members. I think it'll be a better user experience. It is not ready to go. We have decided to delay the launch of that pending some additional quality assurance testing. The bug fixing and time built in for additional staff training and reconciliation. So this at this moment is not expected to have any additional costs, but if one of you were to wonder, it's like, hey, why didn't you do that? I thought it appropriate to apprise the board that we're looking at this very closely, and this is a consensus decision by all the senior staff made in what we now have 3 times a week standing meetings with the vendor to make sure that everything's moving in an appropriate way. I'd like to especially thank Heidi, who's done an enormous amount of work on QA, Stacy, who's managing the payroll with her team, and Eric Mata, who is our, he has a very general title of business systems, but he really focuses on the health of the whole thing and understanding that every employer and every member needs to be able to get at their data. So like I said, this is a longer executive director report, but I felt those are all things worthy of saying here in open meeting. That concludes my report, Treasurer.
Any questions for our executive director? No, so no. Okay, we'll move on. I'll now seek the approval of the January 2026 pensions as presented by ERSRI.
So move.
Second, Gene, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, no nays, so move. Attorney,
Thank you. So you have the 2 legal counsel reports. There's primarily just logistical and timeline updates in there, no substantive updates, but if there were any questions on any of the matters, I'd be happy to field them.
any questions for legal? Seeing none? All right, we'll move on to committee reports. Doctor,
Thanks. I'll make a motion to approve the disability committee recommendations from our February 13th, 2026 meeting.
motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
I'll move. Thank you.
Do we get a second motion on?
Yeah.
Who seconded it?
Andy,
Okay, I mean, I'm
I
sorry.
think there was a second.
There should be a second motion from the one that was tabled last month.
oh,
Amended.
James done?
Yeah.
Okay. So we made a motion on the disability applications and hearings on the Friday, February 13th.
Good.
That is one for January 9th.
And I apologize, Dr. Shaw, to use, if this is not in your memo, there's a page 2 of the attachment 2. It's a revisit of a disability that was tabled last month.
Yeah, it looks like that was removed from convene for some reason.
Yeah.
It was in it earlier in the week.
Yeah.
I think the question was whether or not he was employed at the time of his filing
Yeah.
for the
Right.
disability, correct?
I'm just wondering why it was removed, been removed in the past day or two, because when I looked at it earlier this week, it was that it's not in convene any longer. I don't know if Gail or if there's a reason for that.
No, all right, so I mean, we can, so it's not me, it was on the agenda posted on the Secretary of State site.
Yeah, but James Dunn.
Yeah.
It's listed as an attachment.
Second item.
So if so this is on the site, I would refer to Attorney McBurney,
Yeah,
but I
as long as it's
believe
publicly noticed,
yeah,
yeah.
so it was publicly noticed with the rest of the agenda on Friday. The
Seems to be,
while you were out, Claire reported out, everything was approved. There was one where we had a question about whether there was a piece of documentation, and we clarified that documentation was there. So what we would just be looking for would be a motion to approve the remaining disability application from Friday, January 9th, which was James Dunn.
Great, I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
No nays?
Opposed.
Opposed, one opposed.
Same here.
2.
Who else opposed?
Can you expand on that?
All right, we're gonna have
We
to,
tabled it good because that wasn't here, but the question was.
different.
Yep, that's different. So if it's better for me to give this or this. So there was this application was approved unanimously in subcommittee. It was recommended last month there was a question about the paperwork of it, whether it was complete last month, and I was unable to answer that. So we researched that with staff, and there is, as part of the record, a document that shows the separation agreement. And so it's appropriate for it to go forward for a vote. And the vote, just like any other disability, is just to agree with or disagree with the vote of the committee.
Okay.
And so we had a question, we
On
Yeah.
his employment.
about his employment, we made sure that our paperwork was in order. And so we moved that, and I apologize.
So in short, there was no problem. There was,
Yeah.
your research pointed that it was correct. Is that,
Was it-
You do a roll call, well, you don't know who just for it, yeah, it's just, you determine that it passed, so you say, you know, based upon.
So we had a motion.
Yeah.
Or, pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
We had a motion, we had a vote.
All vote.
All right, let's do a roll call vote. If not, yeah.
what do you want to do?
So just to clarify, this is a roll call vote on the motion that Dr. Shaw used.
To approve the recommendation of the disability committee.
Treasurer Dioso.
Yes.
Gene Rondo.
Yeah.
Mark Rulo.
No.
Michael Cicero.
Yes.
Joseph Codiga.
Yes.
Matthew Howard.
Yes.
Yen Lee.
Yes.
William Murray.
Yes,
Claire Newell.
Yes.
Andrew Nada.
Yes.
Alan Flausto.
No,
Sandra Paquette.
Yes.
Dr. Shaw Hughes.
Yes.
Michael Tui.
Yes.
Jonathan Wilmer.
Yes.
All right, so motion approved. We just want to do that because we're at the end of the meeting and want to extend it a little. So Claire will make a motion to adjourn. Claire?
Yeah.
Subject?
you have,
Bill?
so,
All in favor?
good thing you have an attorney, good thing you have an attorney with you. That's all I'll say.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Well, that was.
Now,